I was thinking of posting this game yesterday with the live commentary because it comes from my Monday stream, but I decided against it at the last moment and thought that I would want to put my own commentary over it, and I don't know whether you guys prefer that. You can let me know in the comments section whether you want me to post these kind of stream highlights with the live comms, but I figure you can go back and dig through the stream itself if you want to see that. The live comms on this particular game are pretty good. But I thought we would go and do a bit of a post-battle analysis to analyze sort of what I'm doing here. And of course what I'm doing right now is taking a shot at the Belfast over there that I thought was probably not going to really hit him or do any damage, but much to my very pleasant surprise, it does hit the Belfast for 16k, which is a nice little opening salvo. And I feel like anytime you get a nice opening salvo like that, it's a harbinger of things to come. Take note of the Boise, who, like the Belfast, is sort of broadside to my position, unlike the Belfast, has come to a halt, and thus is going to take all of my shells. He gets citadeled twice and goes down for a devastating strike. We're already at 51,000 damage done, and less than 2 minutes have elapsed thus far. And now we've made our way to the flank. So what are we doing? We're taking a look at the map. We've got Vanguard out here. He's reversing. We've got a battleship in the center of the map over there who's also reversing. And finally, we've got Colorado, who, relative to our position, is broadside to us and, like his two battleship teammates, is also reversing. Unfortunately for the Colorado, he is about to reverse behind this island here, which is the only thing that was protecting his broadside from my guns. Now that he no longer has that protection, well, he loses almost all of his health to 2 citadels and 40,000 damage. I think that even takes out one of his guns permanently. So that's basically a crippling blow on the Colorado, and at this point I've decided that there's no further value in pursuing this flank. We've already taken out the Colorado. The Vanguard continues to inch away from this flank in reverse, making himself less and less relevant, and I've still got a Bismarck and another cruiser sort of pushing up. Right now I'm looking at the center because the enemy destroyer, the Z-35, is spotted. Both of our destroyers are in the center as well, and I think nobody is quite in a position to support them. So I wonder in retrospect whether I really should have come to this flank, or whether I should have gone into the center. Certainly coming down this way did allow me to get a lot of juicy damage on some pretty important ships, including the cruisers in the center of the map that would have given my destroyers a bit of a problem. Nevertheless, one of those destroyers has gone down to the torpedoes of one of the enemy destroyers, and that just leaves one destroyer left on our team versus 2 of them still in the center. So it's becoming more and more imperative all the time that I go further toward the center and get into a position to hopefully help out my last remaining destroyer teammate. But as you can see, he is about 2 inches away from the Z-35. Z-35 is on his broadside. I'm not even looking that way. He is spotted. Probably I should be looking that way and shooting at the destroyer, but of course the Z-35 takes out our final remaining destroyer, which was the Sims. So there's really no surprise that he sunk. The Sims is not widely known to be a super competitive destroyer, let's just put it that way. In any case, both of our destroyers have gone down. We now have 0 destroyers. The enemy team still has 2. Both of them are still in the center of the map, exactly where I'm heading. But it's bad, okay? It's very bad because this is an epicenter game, which means that these 2 destroyers are going to have absolutely nothing stopping them from taking the center of the ring and probably the middle ring. We've got 2 battleships in the outer ring, so at this point, that is safe. But this Z-35 is going to be able to capture both the center and the middle ring if we don't do something about it immediately. Z-35 is spotted. He's reversing. We've got the AP loaded, so we shoot it. Unfortunately, the bad thing about the Georgia, even though its guns, as you've seen thus far, are incredible, they are absolutely fantastic, capable of doing monstrous amounts of damage to broadside capital ships like cruisers and battleships, well, the AP is only really ever going to do over-penetration damage against destroyers, and there's only 6 guns. So, shooting AP at destroyers in this ship kinda can feel a little bit underwhelming, which is why I've switched to the HE, in hopes that the destroyers would be respotted. We've also got the Venom out there. You can see he's torpedoing my teammate Nelson, who is headed straight for Massachusetts and Peterbag Ration. We shoot our HE at the Massachusetts because we're pretty convinced at this point that the destroyers are not going to be spotted again. The fire actually, well, we actually light 2 fires on the Massachusetts, which I think he promptly extinguishes, yes. But we get the high caliber medal in the interim, and the Peterbag Ration has beached himself and is now reversing broadside in front of that Nelson, who we are going to try to save with this salvo. Unfortunately, we're going to fail, whereas RNG has... no, never mind. We dev strike. Actually, that's not considered a dev strike. Yes, it is. We dev strike the Peterbag Ration and put ourselves up to 158,000 damage done. Meanwhile, Benham is getting spotted intermittently. He's being shot at by one of our battleship teammates. The Z-35 is spotted as well, so let's turn our guns, see if maybe we can shoot him before he goes dark again. But no, Benham again. Oh, Benham's unspotted. Z-35 is unspotted. What a wonderful time it can be to shoot at enemy destroyers when you don't have any teammates that can consistently keep them spotted. And the reason you don't have any of those teammates is because both your destroyers are dead. So at this point, it's 3 battleships versus 3 battleships and 2 enemy destroyers. Obviously, the enemy team has a very distinct advantage here, and we are going to try to reposition ourselves a little bit. We discharge yet another salvo of HE against the Iowa, and we get yet another fire, leading me to believe that Georgia might actually have some pretty good high explosive that might be useful to you in some situations if you ever want to switch to it. I mean, every time we've shot it, we've got a fire thus far, so that bodes well. Now, however, we're in a place where we could potentially be crossfired by the Massachusetts and the Iowa. The Iowa is directly behind us. He can't see us thanks to the island, and the Massachusetts is approaching on our broadside. We only have 1 teammate left. He's also directly behind us. We don't want to be anywhere near him. We want to put as much distance between him and ourselves as humanly possible so that we can create distance between the enemy ships and our ships, and hopefully develop some kind of crossfire. That's what I'm trying to do as I kite this way. I'm trying to get a place where I can maybe get the Iowa's broadside or maybe get the Massachusetts broadside. I've said it a few times before, but your goal in a battleship is not to simply stay in one place, play stationary for the whole game, and hope that the enemy team sails past you broadside. You need to move your battleship across the map so that you can access the broadsides of the enemies. Now we're making a risky move. We're turning a little bit. We're giving broadside to the Iowa. We want to try to close the distance on the Massachusetts. My initial idea was maybe to turn my nose in more toward the Iowa and then angle myself between the 2 of these battleships, but I'm deciding right now as the Iowa goes unspotted that this is actually pretty risky. Massachusetts shoots at me, does minimal chip overpen damage, but the Iowa's still there, and at this point I'm just sort of hoping he's not looking at me. He is. He gets a rather poor shot, though, against my broadside. Doesn't do a lot of damage. That's basically just luck on my part, not taking more damage than I did there. We aim up into the Massachusetts superstructure, do a little bit of damage to that, take out one of his guns. In return, he citadels us because we aren't angling toward him, and we narrowly miss a bunch of Benham torpedoes, although one of them tags us on the nose and manages to cause flooding. Meanwhile, our battleship teammate takes out the Massachusetts. which leaves us free to turn around and hopefully get something going on the Iowa. Unfortunately, there are less than 5 minutes left to go in this game. There's still that Iowa, who is basically at full health, which, frankly, at this point in the battle, I think is a little bit inexcusable. And then there is a Vanguard, who is very low indeed. And finally, that last destroyer, which I think is the Benham. And I am pretty convinced he's directly in front of me, because there is a smoke screen there, although I am spotted, which would indicate that he is not inside of that smoke screen. Well, then again, I guess he could be, and my smoke firing penalty might be spotting me. Yes, he does appear to be inside that smoke screen. Meanwhile, Iowa is charging straight for our last remaining teammate Battleship, giving us broadside, which gives us access to his citadel. We're able to tap that location one time and cause a lot of damage to his ship, and he's still broadside because we finally successfully developed a crossfire here. Iowa has to choose. Does he angle against my teammate there, or does he angle against me? He's elected to angle against my teammate. Honestly, couldn't tell you why, because I'm pretty sure my teammate is a bow-tanking Bismarck that is shooting at him with precisely 4 of his 8 guns. Maybe it's another Iowa. Actually, I'm not sure what it is. Looks like an American battleship. Maybe it is an Iowa. In any case, the battleship on my team is bow-tanking him using only a select amount of his firepower, and the Iowa's choosing to angle against that and give me broadside. Well, that spells his demise. He goes down, not quite a dev strike, but we're up to 231,000 damage, and we are just about to reach the most damage that I've ever done in the Georgia. The question is it going to be enough? Well, the enemy destroyer has by some miracle gone down. I think that is my teammate there. So it's only the Vanguard. And while in the past, I've criticized battleships merely sitting in reverse, bow tanking against enemy battleships, my teammate there, if it weren't for him providing some sort of like a distraction with his bow tanking and reversing, giving these enemies something to shoot at, and enticing them to angle against him for some reason instead of me, well, we wouldn't be developing this crossfire. He is definitely the anvil to my hammer. The only question is, will the hammer beat this Vanguard down to the bottom of the sea? And the answer to that is no. Unfortunately, the front guns miss with their 2 shells, and the enemy team wins on points. So we suffer a tragic loss after having done 240,000 damage and earning 1 million credits in the Georgia, again, on a loss. 2,100 base XP on this loss, 1 million credits earned, 240,000 damage done. That's 20,000 damage shy of the damage record for the Georgia. Even though this game sucked in terms of its result, it was fantastic in terms of playing it. These are the kind of games you hope for. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.